Hey, this is Mike from Real Black TV, and it's getting dark out here. It's winter time. First bunch of really kind of cold weather we've had here in Philadelphia, and I'm just gonna give you a quick reaction video for the latest Will Smith movie, Collateral Beauty, which has got an amazing cast, including Helen Mirren and Edward Norton. So I'm literally sitting outside of the theater, just saw it a few minutes ago, and the reviews haven't been kind to Collateral Beauty, and I checked out a couple reviews, like, synopses on Rotten Tomatoes before I came out to see it. So I wasn't really expecting a whole lot, and honestly, the first, it was one of those emotional roller coaster things, which is good in a movie. So I'll like if you were tracking my emotions through the movie, I think the first 5 minutes, or 10 minutes where you're establishing the characters, I thought was extremely good. So basically, the premise is this: Will Smith is extremely depressed, and but they need him in order to be able to sell this company that they've all invested their time and energy in. So they hatch a scheme which involves utilizing actors to and he's been writing these letters and mailing them, and they sort of they stalk him, and they discover that he's been writing letters to love, death, and time. So this is where you have to suspend your disbelief, folks. And I was perfectly willing to do this. So Ed Norton goes and he discovers the theatrical troupe, and who happens to be three people. So he says, hey, I have this idea. If you guys could pretend to be the spiritual forces that have received his letters, maybe we can snap Will out of this thing, or Howard is the character's name. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go along with that. Fine. There's always a buy-in, suspension of disbelief thing. But it was hitting some notes, where I said, anybody who's experienced grief, they might. It's very heavy-handed, the scripting and the delivery, but it's also a great opportunity to see some really good actors playing scenes. Almost, it didn't really necessarily feel like it had the stakes of something that like a Hollywood movie, but I really appreciate the energy and the risk that was being taken in terms of getting the message across. And for a good percentage of the movie, I was like, wow, okay, well, this isn't necessarily, like I don't stop when I'm flicking the channel on the Dr. Wayne Dwyer videos, on PBS, or spend a lot of time reading Chicken Soup for the Soul or things. But I've certainly had my periods in time where I needed those things, and I felt like this is like the filmic equivalent. So if this movie caught you at a specific time in your life, listen, Kanye, you need to go see this. This could be a very helpful movie, and kudos to Will Smith and all the people involved in pushing this through the system in order to make this movie, because obviously they're it's counter programming, let's argue, but maybe they're not expecting this thing to make a heck of a lot of money, because it's coming out the same day as Star Wars Rogue One, and the theater, it's in the afternoon, but the theater I was in, there was maybe less than 10 people for the second matinee. So good luck, to if this movie makes some money, that's great. But I don't necessarily know if Warner Brothers is expecting this to be the #1 movie in the week. Obviously, against Star Wars, they don't. But I felt, up until 80% through, I said I was giving this movie a chance. I said, wow, get to see Will Smith do some things, and Will's not, he's in the middle level of my favorite actors. Like, there's certain things that he does that I just love, like Pursuit of Happiness, and there's certain things where I feel like he indicates a lot and really needs a good director. So I think, I don't know if the director for this movie was necessarily the best director. The original director dropped out from Creative Differences. It was supposed to be the guy who did Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. And also, this is a movie that Hugh Jackman was originally going to play the lead for, and then Will Smith took over, kind of late in the game, last minute kind of thing. So, but I think everybody does a good job considering the material. And I was really on the verge, it never went to a level where it was above anything. But I was willing. I said, okay, well, for certain audiences, this might be helpful. This might be a good movie, and it made me think of certain things like Preston Sturges or whatever. I see where it's trying to go. But the last 10 minutes, the twist on this thing, it took like a movie that was tracking at like a 5 or a 6, and plunged it into utter shit. Like where it goes the last 10 minutes, and I'm not going to spoil it, just basically erases any value and emotion that was placed in, that you had invested in the entire movie. It just jumps completely off the rails, and it's the kind of thing that you just feel like could have been avoided. But I suppose that was the whole idea, that there's going to be this twist ending in it. So, sad to say, Collateral Beauty, very pretentious and earnest, I guess would be the two words that I would use for this. But good performances, and, if it catches you on cable, or, you're seeing just parts of it, watch it up until maybe the last 10 minutes, and then you're good. But if you sit through the whole thing, you're just going to be like, wow, what an utter waste of my time. And it's a shame, because I really wanted to like this movie, and I was liking it, but the screenplay doomed it. And I think one of the problems with the movie is it doesn't necessarily respect its DNA. There have been movies that have dealt with existential issues. We're always dealing with existential issues, like why are we here? What is the purpose of life? And when we suffer a loss that seems unjust, how do we cope? How do we deal? And this movie, it was working pretty well in terms of balancing the cynicism with the deep and utter loss. Whoa. And kudos to Will Smith for really investing in his character. But it just doesn't work. It didn't work on paper, and then it almost felt like the whole time I'm watching the movie, I'm watching a screenplay. And the problem with this movie is just tone. I think it was working as a comedy, but in better hands. It reminded me of some Preston Sturges type things, but there was no real villain. It's just too earnest for its own good in terms of tone. But if you so it basically devolves into a bad episode of Touched by an Angel by the end. But if you like those movies, if you want movies like that, go see It's a Wonderful Life. That's the first thing. Or A Christmas Carol if you need something like that right now. But the movie that I would recommend people check out, because we're talking about black film, is a movie from the late 60s, I think 68 or 69, starring Zero Mostel and Harriet Belafonte, called The Angel Levine. Very deep existential movie, dealing Zero Mostel as a Jewish person who's lost a lot of his family in the Holocaust, and Harriet Belafonte shows up on his doorstep and says, I'm an angel, I can do things for you, but you just have to believe in me. And because of what Zero Mostel has experienced, he just can't. I like movies about angels. I like movies that are there to feed your soul. This one, just a little too pretentious, but the ending is really the problem. And, if you saw it, if you intend to see it, please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below. And that's my mini review reaction video for Collateral Beauty. Love everybody involved. It just, sometimes you swing for the fences, and it's not Field of Dreams. Enjoy your weekend, stay warm, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.